on to the sixth, seventh, seventh episode of Taboo. Uh, um, and
Amateur hour, I swear.
all of you already know Ed from previous episodes and the roundtable. Um, so I'm just gonna get right into it. So this morning I wake up and morning being relative, look at my phone, which I'm not on social media very often anymore. And there's just an entire slew of stuff going on about a shooting in Philadelphia again.
Yep. You've got to be kidding me. It keeps happening.
Would you like to describe to anyone who's watching, what happened and this time?
Yeah. The long and short of it is there was a man holding a knife in one of the protests. He was told to put his weapon down, and when he did not and moved towards the cops, they quite literally opened fire and they fired a ridiculous amount of bullets into the guy, killing him. This is the long and short of it.
Yeah, I thought that there was a like they sent him to the hospital after, and
I'm
I guess
I'm
just to
amazed
be,
that he survived anything more than that.
huh? I'm sorry.
I'm amazed that if he survived the trip to the hospital. That was a lot of bullets.
Oh yeah. Um, I feel like they just sent him to the hospital to just hold his hand at death's door, like Jesus
Just say
fucking
they did.
Christ. And if you can find, which I had a hard time finding, I actually only found it a couple minutes before we got
Mm-hmm.
together to start the episode. You can hear like the gun go
Not
off
pretty.
multiple times.
They mulched him like holy shit.
So uh then thereafter, Philly being Philly, sparked off a ton of rioting, protesting. There were looters. I'm looking at all the newscasts, which, like, finding any live streams or stuff like that for me, I found to be kind of difficult this time around, strangely. But in a lot of those videos, like, what the thing I find frustrating is they're calling protesters looters, like, interchangeably. And to me, like, the looters make up like a small group of people who are taking advantage of the situation. They're not the people who are protesting or rioting. And even protesters and rioters are separate people as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And like that overall generalization is just frustrating.
it's demeaning. Yeah. Well, the idea is they minimize the plight of the people. That is, if they're just looters, they're all assholes. Who cares? If they're just rioters, who cares if they get hurt?
Yep. I mean,
But if they're protesters who've done nothing wrong, it's something that's actually something to look into.
and to me, it's not just like a Philly issue or a Kenosha issue or a Minneapolis issue. Like, if these things are popping off all over the country on a regular basis this year, then this is a national issue. This is a national issue of the training and militarization of our police. And I just,
And like, I don't get why that is their training. I don't get why use lethal force is your first training. I don't know why center mass is your part of your training. Why is it not a leg shot? Why is it not an arm shot? Why are you shooting to kill when you have non-lethal options available?
and
I don't get it.
even if you are reaching for your gun first, like, why can't you shoot somebody in the kneecap? That'll immobilize somebody with a knife, whether it was this particular case where the guy had a knife or the one that was more local to me here in Lancaster. There's no reason, like, an officer who is supposed to be trained to protect and serve can't de-escalate a situation or can't find a more less lethal means of dealing with the situation. And that gets down into the fact that the amount of time that police are in training or taught to use weapons is so small. and not regulate it, that this is what they're going for.
Not only that, but if anyone should have access to a wide range of non-lethal weapons, it should be a police officer. They should have a very powerful taser. They should have pepper spray. They should have some other weapon besides a fucking gun
Or
that
wasp
they're trained to
spray.
use at first. Yeah, anything that they're supposed that they can use besides a fucking lethal weapon. And why are they going for the lethal weapon first?
And I
And
also
why are they
want to.
firing to kill with said lethal weapon?
True, absolutely, dude. I agree with you 100%. Also, the other thing is that we should have like social workers, like trained psychologists that are responding to these kind of mental health issues to try and de-escalate situations like this in a way that only somebody who has studied psychology or gone to college to learn about mental health can. Because these officers, like, I've never met an officer who gave a fuck about somebody's mental health. And that's a serious problem in this country. And a lot of these people who are enraged or running around like psychopaths need mental help. Like, do we disregard the entire, like, we have people going to college for 6 and 8 years to study psychology, but when it comes to a social, we have such a social disregard for it in America. It's almost sickening. It's almost scary to be a mental health person and be afraid of your breakdown because the police might fucking kill you if you do in public.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
like,
tragic.
mentally ill people matter, and Black Lives Matter. Like, I didn't mean to make that pun, but I stand with it.
Mentally ill Black lives also matter, as do bad pun lives, but we don't talk about those.
All right.
That's exclusively.
Well, on that note, I mean, I feel like I run to this isn't talking for the first time. Hi. I feel like I don't want to run this into the ground too much. Um, Even though do want to talk about it and I do feel like it needs to be talked about, but I'd like to move to the interview and keep moving forward if that's cool with you.
I mean, I'm cool with it. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's like I don't get it. Like it's comical to me almost.
Yeah, it makes me so upset and angry. Um, it gives me anxiety just to talk about, especially with some of the experiences I've had when I've been on the ground at protests. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, I could go on for forever.
Nah, you're fine. Just fine. Give me a 4 hour podcast. It's fine. Listen, if I can talk for 4 hours in D&D, you can talk in this podcast for as long as you want.
Yeah, but I also want to keep myself together so I can be on point for
Fair
our
enough.
interview, which we have a very special guest today and a very old friend of mine who is a veteran. So I'm kind of excited to get. So let's cut over and for everyone watching, we'll be right back. Welcome
Hi.
back, everybody. This is
There we are.
my good friend Rick, who I've known since high school. Um, would you like to introduce yourself, dude?
My name is Rick. I'm 31. I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I don't know, man. What else?
Well,
Like my unit number, I guess.
you don't have to go that far into detail. But you did join the service like right after high school, didn't you?
About a, I got out of high school when I was like 17, nearly 18, and then I joined the army. The next year. No, not the yeah, the next year. So in '08.
Oh yeah, you did graduate the year before me. Totally forgot about that. Uh, so what was your MO?
My MOS was 11 Bravo. I was an infantry rifleman. I served with Alpha Company, 2nd Battalion, 87th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 10th Mountain Division.
I'm gonna pretend any of that means anything to me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Sorry, I don't.
Vic's just saying like I didn't know those words.
I don't know anything about the military really. Um, so how long were you in? Did you serve for?
I was in for 4 years, roughly.
And during that time, you went overseas, right?
I did. I was in Afghanistan back in 2009 in the Tangi Valley district of Wardak Province, Afghanistan, as part of OEF 9 and 10.
Well, damn.
So, I'm sorry, I'm trying to find like ways to ask questions that I'm not sure if I should or not. So if I
Okay.
ask you anything that you
It's
don't want to
okay. I'll
talk
try.
about,
I'll be
just
honest. Like, there are certain things that I will have to kind of be careful about just for the sake of OPSEC. Like, I'm not going to give out names of certain people just out of respect for them. Like, uh, yeah, like there's just certain things that I have no problem if you ask them, but I'll have to figure out for a second how I'm going to answer them just out of respect for, because this experience is not just mine. This experience is the experience of everyone that I served next to in Afghanistan too, and I don't want to say something that would dishonor them in any way,
oh,
especially.
absolutely, dude. I don't want you don't have to name names. I don't want you to talk about anything that is going to be hurtful to you. But why don't you
No,
walk us
I'm
through
mostly comfortable with it.
some of your experiences? I mean, what did it mean to be a soldier out there in the early 2000s or circa '08 to '11?
So, so let's start with basic training and like recruiting. Let's start with that for the sake of the story. Um, I had just gotten out of like 2 failed relationships because you know me, I'm dumb. I do dumb shit. So does Ashley here.
I respect that.
It happens to the best of
Uh,
us.
I was a kid. I was a dumb kid, and
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was. I lacked a sense of identity, and it wasn't that like I thought the army was gonna fix me. I also had like some trouble at home. Like my mom has always had problems, and I knew that if I didn't get out of that situation, I would have been stuck at home for the rest of my life, like some people in my family. Um, but I I kind of joined the infantry not because I was under any kind of illusions that I was serving in a capacity that was like really serving my country. In fact, to some degree, it was kind of self-serving. I enlisted because I wanted to know what I was capable of enduring. I wanted to test natural selection, and you know, as I found out later, war does not operate on the principle of natural selection. It's very much like pure chance. Um, it's not even chance you can guess. It's just total chaos. Um, so anyway, I enlisted out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, out of the recruiting center to the one side of Park City Mall. I kind of walked in. I was like, "Hey, you know, don't feed me any bullshit. Just sign me up." And they're like, "Well, that was easy. What do you want to do?" And I'm like, at first, I'll be honest. I said cavalry, but they couldn't get me out until like January, and it was at the time it was like October. I said, "All right, we'll sign me up for the infantry," and so they signed me up for the infantry, and I flew out like literally like a couple weeks later,
Wow, that
and I
quick.
went to Fort Benning, Georgia, pretty quick because they. You don't understand. The infantry is always undermanned because we bear the brunt of combat generally. We have to endure a lot of not just like physical stuff. We have to endure a lot of like psychological stress and just like total deprivation. Like where I was, we didn't have really like clean clothes or like showers, like real showers for 6 months. We had like water bottles and shit, but like you know, and then like not only that, they couldn't even get supplies into us half the time because they'd be blowing up our trucks. But let me back up. So I went
Yeah.
to Fort Benning. I went through basic twice because I got recycled my 12th week. I started back in day one because they were originally gonna throw me out, and like I'm not go like the first sergeant brought me before him, and he's like, you know, he goes, give me one good reason I should let you stay in my army, and I'm like, because I'm not leaving here without that goddamn blue cord for sergeant major. Like, I think it was like a last ditch effort. I thought that I was gonna get the shit smoked out of me or something, but like it was like, what else is gonna happen? They're gonna throw me out soon if I don't. So I showed some balls, and he like recycled me to day one. He's like, I have very little reservation for keeping you in my army. You're recycled to day one, Echo Company 150, and that was who I graduated with. When you first get to basic, it's a lot of it's the biggest thing is a culture shock. You're kind of sleep deprived almost immediately because you have to do all this paperwork before you actually get over to the basic training side, and they like cut your hair and all that stuff. I think they're stopping it soon, but they have something called the shark attack, and when you cross the tracks, when you go over to the basic training side of the post, like as soon as you get off, in fact, you don't even get off the bus. The drill sergeants would like climb onto the bus, start screaming at you, be like, you know, it's like, but it's not just to be mean to you, and that's what you have to understand. People get the wrong idea about that all the time. It's about if there are mortars like hitting the ground all around you, if there are bullets flying and you can barely hear each other, how are you going to react? And if you're not reacting appropriately, you need to be trained now so you don't react this way in combat. That's what they do. It's not meant to be mean. Now they can fuck with you. They really can fuck with you. All right. But you also have to understand that infantry is very, very different from, in fact, all combat arms traditions have their own kind of thing, but all combat arms is very different from what they call combat support. Like the training's different. They make you, like when you're in the infantry, you swear like every other word. When you're in like a pogue post, which is personnel other than grunt, like you you know, it's a lot like you can't curse. They're like daggum instead of goddamn. But anyway, so moving on, I graduated, and then like within, what's up?
I was gonna say, I guess if you're being sent to like the front lines or so on, you get an excuse to swear.
Yeah, I mean they want you to be aggressive. They need you to be aggressive because they need you to be like, you know, like act with a violence of action is the phrase we call it. We use. We have to move with the violence of action, and that's what they instill in you from like day one with the shark attack and all that stuff.
So
We should probably like pause and like ask questions and stuff too. Do you want to like know
oh well,
like, you know?
I was about to ask, how long is it? Like, I know you said that you got recycled, but how long is the training um supposed to be?
I think they may change that soon too, but originally for infantry, it's there's no basic training because usually with other MOSs there's 8 weeks of basic training, might be 9 weeks, I forget, and then like you go to AIT. With infantry school, you go through 14 weeks of straight basic if you're an infantryman, and 16 weeks if you're a mortarman, which is indirect fire specialist, or indirect fire infantryman rather. Indirect fire specialist is a gun bunny.
A what?
You heard the man.
Artillery, 13 Bravo. So I'm 11 Bravo. 13 Bravo is a gun bunny, like it's artillery.
Oh, okay. I
Well, I
wasn't
have a
ready
friend
for
here
that.
who served my unit too. So, like, I have a friend here with me who served my unit. Like, he got to the unit after I was about to like leave the post, and he went on deployment to Jari and Kandahar in 2011. So that's why I was looking at him and saying that.
But all right. So then,
I'll drag you into this if you want me to.
what happens after basic
This is Rush, by
training
the way.
then?
Yo.
Didn't say last name, but like.
Hello. Sorry to interrupt your podcast.
Hey, you're cool.
Cool.
It's very
He was
free form.
infantry and then cross trained as a combo guy too. So like, what's that?
I was
So
saying
very
just
warm.
what So what happens after basic training and they just ship you off right away?
You usually they'll already have your orders prepared. They already know where you're going to go. They decide if you don't have it in your contract, you don't get to choose. They'll send you wherever they want. You can get sent anywhere from. You can stay on post, which everyone really hates because they've already been there for so long, and Georgia sucks. Sorry, Georgia.
You're correct. Georgia does.
So did you
But
immediately go to Iraq after your training?
so that's what I was getting to. I got my orders to go to Fort Drum, New York. It's up by the Canadian border, up by Watertown, Lake Placid, and Alexandria Bay and stuff like that. Within my unit was actually already forward. The first half of the deployment, they said nothing really happened. It was in the Jalrez district, and they expected more than they actually got. Besides, like climbing through like balls deep of snow. That's why we always just go around saying balls deep. And so then they had just gotten to what is referred to as the Tangi Valley, which is also called the Ati Tangi Valley, I believe it is, something like that. It's in southern Wardak, Afghanistan, around the border of Logar, but it's in like eastern, northeastern, kind of like ish. That's where it's at.
Mm-hmm.
When I first got there, I got to a place called Bagram. Well, before that, I jumped through a bunch of other countries, but then I got to Bagram. And then from Bagram, they sent me forward to my battalion, and they were stationed. Their headquarters was at Fob Airborne, and from Fob Airborne, they had to decide what company I would go to. So I came there with a few guys I had gone through basic with, and a few guys that were in other parts of, like other companies within the basic training. And so they sent everyone else to either Bravo or Charlie. I was the only one out of our flight that got sent to Alpha. And before I went, one of the medics that was training, like double checking to see if I could still give an IV, which I did. He asked us, where are you going? Charlie company, where are you going? Bravo company. He asked me, where are you going? I said, Alpha company. And he goes, oh, they sent you to hell. And I'm like,
God.
And I'm like, that's reassuring. Like, well, firstly, let me back up. As soon as I got off the plane, or the bird at, I think it was a helicopter actually, at Fob Airborne. As soon as I got off the plane, or the helicopter at Fob Airborne, like I looked around at the mountains and how tall they were, and like there's no way that I'm going to be able to keep security, like, and cover not just 360 degrees, but also vertical.
Yeah, that's
like I was like, I'm going to die here. So from there I went to the Tangi Valley, and it was 16 hours to get like 60 miles from where I was because they were clearing the roads for bombs.
What is that process like? Like, how do you clear for bombs?
So there are a few things. There's like, especially for us, because we're infantry and we just do our own shit. EOD like shows up late, looking at you, EOD. We
you
have
send the
to.
most expendable one.
Yeah, well, that's how it is. That's exactly how it is. So we usually have people ahead of the vehicles on the roads and along the sides of the roads looking for. They use one strand of copper wire, and they like string it like for a couple kilometers at least sometimes, and up in trees and across rivers and shit. Not even kidding. But usually they don't. In Iraq, they had something called EFPs, which were copper plates, and they would like propel that metal through the vehicle, and the metal would like melt and spall, and it would just turn the whole like back of the vehicle into a microwave.
Holy
But
shit.
well, luckily for us, we didn't have that, but we had what was like 1,000 pounds of HME at least. It's made from what's called ANFO, or ammonium nitrate fuel oil. They use that in the Oklahoma City bombing. I need to get my jacket on. Hold on.
You are forgiven.
So go on, ask me questions. I'm not gonna like keep rambling either. Feels uncomfortable.
No, like I really I want to hear your story, and usually
Just for the people at home, can you just describe HME, what the acronym stands for?
Yeah.
HME is ANFO, ANFO. ammonium nitrate fuel oil.
Mhm.
So ammonium nitrate is a component in fertilizer, and obviously in Afghanistan, they not only grow a bunch of like poppies and weed, they also grow like other plants that are agricultural and like that they sell for money. It's a really poor country, but it's very agricultural based, so they get access to a lot of fertilizer. Until actually it was during or just after when we were there that Hamid Karzai imposed some kind of law where they restricted the amount of ammonium nitrate in fertilizers, or the amount you could buy of it, which still didn't work.
I didn't realize they used that in the
The fuel oil,
Oklahoma bombing either. Wow, I need to do
yeah.
some homework.
Well, yeah, they would like put these jugs of them underneath the road, and like you couldn't even like see it. It like just went underneath the road, and like because there was only one really thin copper wire being stretched out a long distance, like you never saw it. I mean, sometimes you did, and you got really lucky. There are some videos out there, but when they hit you, they hit you. Luckily, most of the time the MRAP stood up, but like after a while, we stopped driving altogether, especially during the daytime, because we had one road the entire valley. We refer to that as a linear danger area, and if you like follow that route, you're bound to run into something that they're gonna know the difference between like a 70s Toyota pickup truck and a U.S. armored vehicle. They're gonna see it coming. They're gonna have a spotter down the road waiting to see, and they're gonna say, "Hey, there's some guy coming up the road. Blow him up."
Mm-hmm.
So like we stopped driving after a while and just started walking everywhere. And you have to remember, we're in like the Himalayas in the Hindu Kush mountain range, like climbing like thousands of feet, sometimes like in some cases like at least hundreds, like good, like there's this hilltop called 2311. From the base to the top it was like 2300 meters, I think it was, something like that, feet maybe, whatever, something like that.
So,
2311.
um, sorry, I need to keep us trying to keep us moving along, because
Yeah, yeah, of
we are
course,
at the
that's why I'm
halfway
asking you to ask
point.
questions.
But
Right.
what was your first combat experience like, or being in like an active? I don't know what you would call it in the military, but like an
I'd
active
have
zone.
to think about it, like because there was a lot that happened. Like we got hit probably every other day at the very least in the Tangi. In fact, nowadays it's a no-go zone, because like back in 2011 there was an incident with a helicopter with the call sign was extortion 17, and it like carried like 22 SEALs, 17 other personnel, and they were reinforcing the Rangers like in an early morning, like late night kind of mission, and all of the like everyone in the helicopter died. So after that, because we knew when we went in the valley, it was Taliban controlled. It was not our territory. We were invading it, and it has a long history of being used, like going back thousands of years, for like attacking invading forces. So it was pretty difficult. There was a lot going on. If you want to really know, like one of the worst situations, we were out. Well, the night before, it was like Thanksgiving, and we were sitting the cop, and like we got a word over the radio that that the Apaches like smoked like 3 guys emplacing IEDs in the low ground. I just told Rush this story earlier. There were like 3 guys emplacing an IED in the low ground in NAI 4, which is like towards the east side of the valley. The road runs west east,
Okay.
and we were supposed to go out there and secure the area until EOD showed up to blow the charges in place. We were supposed to secure the area. So it was nighttime. We don't usually drive, but we went out in vehicles, and we didn't have any lights on. We were just moving and using night vision. And we stopped on the road, and we were waiting for them for like 3 hours. I'm watching through this window as I can see the backlight of a cell phone on, as if someone's watching us and talking, and I try to tell them that as well. But in any case, over the radio, EOD calls up, and they say, "Hey, we're not going to be there tonight. You should RTB, which means return to base, and come back in the morning." Yeah, return to base. So we, we're like, fuck you guys. That's why I was saying earlier, like, EOD. Anyway, so we go back to the post, to the outpost, the combat outpost, or COP, and we don't even get any sleep. I think we got like 2 hours before we actually had to go back out, and we were out on foot because dawn was breaking. As we were traveling out there, we're in a staggered column in a wide open field, and we tell the LT, you're supposed to be in a wedge in a wide open field, and he just brushes us off. I'm at the end of the formation. I don't remember if it was the medic or my team leader that was ahead of me, and then the other one was to the, like, they were like diagonal to the right of me. And we're walking out there, and my team leader, he goes, hey, can you untangle my embedder from this brush? And I say, yeah, hold on. So I walk up and like kind of leave my rear security position and like untangle his radio, his embedder from this brush. And as I'm falling back into place, he's like, hey, we got like two guys up on the high ground. And like, not even like 2-3 seconds later, between him, me, and the medic, like, this, I think we found out later, it was a pressure cooker full of rebar and HME. The lid came off, and all of the shrapnel went upward, but the blast still went outward, obviously. And like, I was kind of dazed. It sounded like the MGM lion roaring right in my ear. And like it didn't sound like a boom, it sounded like a roar. And like, I kind of like stumbled and like fell. And like, I guess they were shooting at us, and I just like hit a berm and like started firing. We all started firing back. Like one of us was shooting south, and we're like, hey, that way. And he's got like, like the saw, and that's most of our firepower in like a fire team. So anyway, it was kind of funny. But anyway, uh, and the thing is, like, when you when you're in this kind of situation where you're fighting gorillas, they're like ghosts, man. In that culture, they drag away bodies because they have to bury them before sundown or whatever it is. I forget what it is, some kind of like thing with them. But you usually, even if you do get them, there's usually not a body. Once in a while you'll find one, but it's just like you'll see. It's the thing. We went out and we started by passing out blankets and teddy bears and like giving money and like building schools and like giving first aid to these people. And we were like having what we call shuras, which are like, they're called they're meetings with the village elders. They'll sit down with you, they'll like accept your help, and be like, we like you. And then as soon as you leave their village limits, because they can't kill you within their village because it's against their code of Pashtun Wali, it's considered like haram, which is like sin. And they'll wait till you leave the village outskirts, and they'll blow you the fuck up.
Holy
So the same
shit.
people we're helping, they're blowing us the fuck up. Just like with the HME, we were training the Afghan National Army Commando Kandak, and I just told this story earlier too, Vix. I think you saw it. Like, and we caught them selling our fuel, which is called JP8, Jet Propellant 8, to the Taliban. The Taliban were using this for fuel oil to build HME and then blow us up. So we couldn't really trust anyone. The villagers, we couldn't trust the people we were training. It was really a shitty situation, It's much more confusing than just going out and killing people or what people see in like movies and shit. It's like there's a lot of nuance that people don't get.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of bureaucracy too, and like a lot of dumb shit. But it's more complicated than what you think. I can't really describe it entirely.
Uh, yeah, like I think what a lot of, especially Americans, have trouble with is understanding like that thorough of a difference in culture. That like and I've heard stories from you, and I've had friends who have also vets that tell me stories from over there, and that culture is just so alien to ours. I think a lot of people just don't understand like what you're trying to explain and get across with like their laws and the way that they work, and a lot of people just rub it off as like, oh well, they believe like all infidels must die and et cetera, post on a meme and plaster it all over your social media and never have like a very true understanding that of what you guys go through or went through out there. Sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. Jeez. But yeah, I just totally lost
I'm
my train
listening.
of
I'm
thought.
just, I also don't want to sit here and ramble for like an hour straight, so that like all you have is like a track of me like talking.
um do you, God damn it.
Oh, like
Do you
2311 really rings a bell. I have no idea why.
It's just the hill. It's the hilltop elevation,
Mm-hmm. No, just that name rings a bell. I don't know why.
backed by Shady Pooch.
Lovely.
That was the name of the village. It's called Shady Pooch. I don't know, man.
someone was creative?
I don't speak Pashto. Not that well.
Um do you regret going into the military like that? Um
I don't regret going in. I don't regret the experience as a whole. There are things that I wish I could have done differently, or that like things that had gone differently. But I would probably still say that, not for anyone else, not for any fake ideology for myself, I would probably do it again. The biggest thing is you're not fighting for your country. You're fighting for yourself and for your brothers left and right. Like it's really a brotherhood, and especially when you're on the front lines, you know.
Mhm.
did you ever
Like,
or sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did you ever at like one point or another just like completely question why you guys were even over there? Like, I know.
Oh no, we knew that. Okay, I'm gonna have to put this like politely. We knew that they were lying to us the whole time we were over there. We knew that we had no real purpose or direction over there, and then it came out in the with the leak of the CIA papers, or whatever it was. They called them the Afghanistan papers, and
Mhm.
it says, yeah, we had no idea we were over there. We were we were being lied to, and that's the fact. We knew that. I don't know how to put it, because I'm not going to say that anything that when we were there, Bin Laden was still alive. All right, it's not like it is now. I think that we should pull back, but it's difficult also because when you build up a third world country, if you leave, it creates a power vacuum, and everyone
Mhm.
that is waiting for you to leave, like the Taliban stuff like that, they're going to just do what they did again in
Nature
the states,
abhors a vacuum.
and the state will collapse. So like it's difficult, it's precarious, but I do believe we should pull out. We do not belong there anymore. But when I was there, it was different because Bin Laden was still alive, and we were actively like fighting, Taliban, and like the Haqqani network, stuff like that. Just people, different terrorist cells over there. And the Taliban, by the way, do you know what the Taliban is?
Uh,
Yes.
yes.
Uh, it was the former
Oh,
government that
Mujahideen,
we had helped stand up during what they called Charlie Wilson's
yeah,
war.
yeah, the Mujahideen resistance that were trained by the
Yes,
CIA
and that
and
was by the CIA. I actually worked. Like my unit, me, we pulled missions with 20 Special Forces groups. I think it was Second Rangers. Like we pulled missions with them. We even flew out of the valley to like hit a house, with them. Um, we worked with the Marine PSYOPs, and we worked with the CIA as well, and Humint as well, Army
Mhm.
Humint.
So,
So like where we were, like the 10th Mountain Division is the traditional like QRF for special operations forces generally.
Mhm.
So like we usually are one of the first units in. If you ever watch Black Hawk Down, when the Rangers and Delta are pinned down, they'll say send in the 10th Mountain Division.
oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Like we're the only division-sized element to train for like mountainous terrain and Arctic warfare.
all right.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. It's just like we got like a good 15 minutes left, and I want to touch on I would like to keep like your personal life to a minimum because this is live and it is on the internet. But I think
Right,
one thing I really would like to discuss is some of the current spectacle of the Veterans Association to help vets and like maybe even their limitations or just your experience in working with them. Um,
Rush is over here laughing because he already knows. What do you gotta say,
That's
Rush?
actually it's a really good question. So I think, I hope you don't mind me jumping in,
No,
but
it's
no,
okay.
I also,
absolutely.
I also
Go
have
for
some
it.
experience with the VA. I think that the average person over there really cares, right?
Yes.
But the problem is it's the same with the Army. It's when you get a big bureaucracy, you have hundreds of thousands of people that are involved in the same effort. It becomes harder and harder and harder to make meaningful change because you've just got more and more red tape and business infrastructure to work through to make those changes come to fruition. And I mean that kind of issue shows up in everything from the way they treat mental health issues to how long it takes them to process benefit requests, like the whole gambit. Um, I can tell you, you get better care for sure in the private market. But for a vet who doesn't have anything else, it's a lifeline. So don't walk away from this thinking the VA sucks, because they don't. They're just
No, yeah.
it's a challenge for that organization to innovate because of their
Yes.
size.
On the level of personnel, I believe that everyone that works there, for the most part, does care. Like, they're not there just for a paycheck. However, there's a lot of stuff that like ends up, it's really at the top level. And I'm not saying that the administration. I'm saying all the moving parts. That shit gets fucked up. Like, I was on the streets for a while because something happened. After like stuff happened in my life, and I was obviously left homeless. Typical veteran thing. I mean, it's just how it is. But like, they're helping me now, and it just took a while. Like I said, a lot of moving parts.
All right.
I mean, if you have a cookie cutter problem, right? Like, let's say you've got a sprained ankle. This is such a Barney style example, but if you've got a easy to solve cookie cutter problem, they're a great resource. But if you are a vet that has, a rare form of cancer or something, they're never going to be able to help you because they're not equipped to deal with advanced stuff like that, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Do you think there
I don't know.
are changes that do you guys think there are changes that could be made in whether it's like a matter of politics of electing the right officials that would represent the VA more or even minute changes
Well, I
that
think
could
it's definitely
improve
politics. I mean, the VA expenditures are like among the most expensive things that the federal government pays for. I can't remember exactly where it lands, but it's somewhere between defense and then the penal system and then the VA. Those are the biggest expenditures our government has. So if you're going to have, and I'm not trying to knock anybody's politics or anything, but I think in general, if you have Republican leadership in the White House or across our government, you're going to have less funding for the VA. They're going to want to privatize it, kind of like they just privatized the benefits adjustment process for like any disabled vet. They're now going to an outsourced company to review your case and see if you're still eligible to receive your disability that you get through the VA. I think if you have Republicans in office, you're going to see more of that kind of stuff and less government mandated or government guided healthcare, I guess you could say.
Because it's a cost cutting measure is what it is, and like, I think that that's wrong. I think especially because, again, I do not want. I honor the service of all my brothers and sisters, but they should probably take care of us better, especially because of things like being lied to like that. And again, I appreciate my service. I'm not at all talking down about my service or the Army or the military generally. There's a lot that goes on. But
that's one thing I've never understood with VA. It's like, if you've been through the jaws of hell that is armed service, you should have every right to be able to get what you need.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of us, especially infantry, we don't want to reach out for that kind of help anyway. I wouldn't even be retired if like they didn't force me into it, because I felt like I didn't deserve it. And
Wait,
you
they
know,
forced you to retire? Or
oh yeah, I was forced in retirement. I fought. Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I don't have a certificate of discharge. I have a certificate of retirement. Like, I'm medically retired at 50% DoD. 60% VA. Like, I am officially retired from the Army.
Wow. That kind of, I didn't know that they could do that. And even before I brought
I
that
didn't know
up,
that either until it happened.
I didn't know
Yeah, I didn't know it either.
a lot of that to do with the VA. So not only for my viewers, this has also been quite the learning experience for me as well. Shit. But I'm thinking we're gonna wrap this up though. Um,
Yeah,
thank you.
man. If you want to do this again sometime, if you want like me to explain better, like let me know. But next time, try to prepare some questions so I'm not sitting here like rambling.
Well, my problem was like I don't know too many vets, and I don't know too much about. I don't know too many vets that were actually like in infantry and on ground. So like I sat here with a notebook for almost an hour, and I'm just like I don't even know. I don't even know where to start or what to write down to ask. So I'm just gonna try
I
and write.
promise you're not gonna offend me.
But
You're not gonna offend me, but like you,
it's not just offending you, dude. It's also like I don't really I don't know how the military works at all, and I think that's actually general idea. Like we have a general idea, the average civilian, but like even just to prep some like basic interview questions, like I'm like I don't even know. Like not too many of us know too much. I mean, except for you have your like military freaks who like love to watch war movies and things like that would probably have a few more than me, but I'd have never been into those kind of films. Uh,
no, I understand. Well, that's what I mean. Like, because you don't know, you obviously would, what you don't know. I figure, you can figure out what's quite out.
but I want to thank you so much for coming on here and talking, and
Sorry.
also your friend. Um, I appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh,
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to like.
oh no, you're fine.
All right. Take it easy.
Have a good night, guys. And thanks everybody who's been watching. It's been real.
Toodles.